Okay, my Eldar list breakdown. So, over the weekend, I played, and the list that I played with was a squad of 9 Shining Spears, Farseer on a bike, a Warlock on a bike, 2 Spirit Seers, a Warlock, 3 squads of 5 Rangers, 3 squads of 10 Guardian Defenders, 3 Wave Serpents, upgraded with Star Engines, and a 5-man squad of Wraith Guard, and is that it? Crimson Hunter? No. Hemlock Wraith Fighter. That one. Psyker plane. So Hemlock Wraith Fighter. And is that it? Yes. I believe that's it. So the reason I didn't put Spirit Stones on the Wave Serpents is because I was running them under Uthway. The Guardians were Alatech, and the bikes were Samhan. I don't know if that's how you say it, but whatever. They're the red dudes. So I had basically 2 battalions and a patrol going into this. And the reason that I brought the Wraith Guard is I wanted something that hits hard. So like if I did play a full night list, if I did play something that I needed that D6 damage, I had something in my back pocket for it. I know they're a little bit pricey on the points, but I am just a huge fan of the Wraith Guard. I was running a full Wraith list before I decided, hey, let's do this Shining Spear thing. So I did that, and then obviously the Shining Spears and running them with a Farseer and a Warlock on a bike right next to them and just kind of buffing them the whole time. That was kind of the plan. And the Rangers, I had never played Rangers before. This was the first time I played Rangers, so it was interesting to learn how they play, where their strengths and weaknesses are. I think that they're really good, obviously, if you're playing against a character. But so let's kind of break this down. So Wraith Guard just didn't do good at all. They performed terribly. The reason for that is because even with a Spirit Seer and rerolling 1s, you find that you roll a lot of 2s. So what happens is on hitting, I would just roll a lot of 2s, then it's like, boom, no damage is being output. So it's just 200 wasted points because it's a luck of the draw if you're going to hit or not. So I was very unimpressed with how they ended up doing for me. The Shining Spears, super good in my first game. Obviously, I didn't even get to play them in my other 2 games, and that's deployment mistakes, movement mistakes on my part. So I understand how to play them. I think that buffing them with the correct things, whether it's quicken and getting the double movement, giving them fortune, attacking something that has doom on it, whatever it is, super good in the sense of they shoot a lot of shots. You can spend command, a stratagem, and you can advance and charge in a turn. You can fall back, shoot, and charge again. So as long as you have some command points to spend on those stratagems, like they can do a lot of damage. Wave Serpents, everybody loves Wave Serpents, it seems like, and my take on them is like, I'm a fan of how long they stay alive and how many shots they absorb, but at the same time, I feel like points could be allocated better to other things that could put out more damage and potentially stay alive, because it's like, at the end of the day, if they're not putting out a ton of damage and they're getting wounded, like the second they get wounded, they're not as useful. You're hitting on 5s, sometimes 6s, like against Dark Eldar, and or Harlequins with a +1 to hit them. The second that Wave Serpent gets injured, you're hitting on 6s, so like now they're literally almost useless. So I feel like they're good for the early game to get things across the table if you need to. They're good if you want to sit them on an objective maybe, but besides that, I feel like they're just not 100% worth it, and everybody's going to argue with me and tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. But I think taking 3 of them is a little overkill, and I don't know. I feel like I need something that's a little bit more firepower-y rather than just stay alive. I'm a huge fan of all the psychic stuff for Eldar. I love how you can pair, certain abilities and psychic powers with each other to make them Like, for example, if you put Doom and Jinx on somebody, like, it's so strong. And then if you have, let's say like an Autark there where you can reroll ones for hits, that's just really strong. So it's like, okay, I'm shooting at these guys, I'm rerolling hits of 1, I'm rerolling all my wounds, and they're +1 to their saving throws. Like, that's just how you fire an entire unit down and take a target out. So as long as you can be successful with getting those psychic powers off, you can have a really, really strong turn. And if you do that multiple turns in a row, like, you're just gonna be hitting so hard nobody can stop you. So love the bike, love Farseers and Warlocks and bikes. Spirit Seers to help the Warlocks or the Wraithguard, they're not all that good, but they do allow you to just get some additional mortal wounds off for a low price by being able to smite and stuff like that. So there's nothing wrong with that. Guardians, complete waste of fucking points. I don't think I ever want to play them in a list again unless I need to build a second battalion for some reason. But what I found out is that to use 13 command points in a game in Eldar is kind of hard to do unless you're doing command point like rerolls a lot, because what happens is a lot of it banks on specific units that you're playing or your Farseers and stuff. So it's like the second that something gets taken out, you might lose a third or even half of the stratagems that are even available to you. So with these tournament games, typically going 3-4 turns, I would say, like, on average. Obviously sometimes they can go more than that, but using that many command points within 3 turns when it matters, 4 turns even, it just doesn't seem like you can physically use that many with Eldar. So I find I always have a lot left over, and sure, maybe I'm just using them wrong, but I feel like going down by 3 or 4 command points is not going to affect my play at all, and it allowed me to soak up the 240 points from the Guardians and bring something else instead. They just die too fast, and yes, there's a stratagem, you can give them a 4-bin Vone, but at the end of the day, like, that only helps them so much because, like, they're not hitting too hard, their saves just aren't good. Just not the biggest fan. So they just die super fast, so I don't really care to take them anymore. The Hemlock Wraithfighter, I love the model, I just feel like I have to play it. There's obviously a lot of other positives to it. It having 2 heavy D sites, it lowering people's morale, its movement to get across the board on turn 1 and help you either smite somebody or put Jinx on them. Usually that's what I'll do, is I'll run the Hemlock Wraithfighter so you could Jinx people, so you could get over there, Jinx people, and everybody else comes up the board and shoots them. So I love the Hemlock Wraithfighter. I'll run that probably forever. There's arguments on you should run 2 or 3 of them, depending on your list, probably. I'm sticking with 1 right now, though. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, the gist of the list. So I think that overall, the weaknesses are that 1 9-man squad of Shining Spears is not enough. They can be focused down too fast and too easy, and then what happens is you're left with a lot of your shooting power off the table then really quick. So running 2 of those is probably more ideal. Other weaknesses are there's not a lot of heavy firepower. So, everything has very low strength, and you're just putting a lot of shots out, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just a lot lower conversion rate. The Wraithguard, just not doing it. As much as I want to play the Wraithguard, I feel like I'm trying to force it into the list, and they're just not doing it for me. Especially with like the aggressive style that I like to play. If I don't go first and I don't get the shots off on them, they almost become useless in most cases. So just not a huge fan. The Rangers, I think that they have goods and bads. I think that not having like any type of feel no pain on them hurts them a lot, I think they would be a lot more viable if they did have that, but if you don't run them as Autech and you don't get basically another +1 to hit, they're probably going to die even faster, so it's kind of a trade-off. I found little success with them, I guess you could say, and I think that's just because of the lists I was playing, like very vehicle-heavy lists with characters inside the vehicles and stuff like that, so there wasn't really any characters for me to focus. The way the boards were set up, I didn't get great deployment in most of the times, but overall, I think that in most cases, if you could find them to hold an objective, or you could find them to drop in on the relics right away and then start running away with them, there is other uses for them rather than just being snipers. So it's something that I definitely will stick with moving forward, because I think that in a lot of cases, they will be useful. And just the 3 wave serpents, like they're good and they're bad, right? Like the Serpent Shield and dispersing it is good. You get some extra mortal wounds off. Then using a command point or a stratagem to do it again next turn if you disperse another Wave Serpent, I think is good. What I found is like they get focused so fast because people just want to kill them that by this time like you have another chance to disperse another shield, you probably lost that Wave Serpent. So because ideally the situation is if you disperse all of your Wave Serpent shields and you just do a bunch of mortal wounds to somebody to kill them, you can do that. But like I was trying to pair it so every turn I could disperse a shield, and then the next turn basically disperse 2, and the next turn disperse 2 by using a command point. But my Wave Serpents were dying before I had the chance to do that. So yeah, I think it's like a one-hit wonder type of thing, and it just didn't go the way I expected to or wanted it to. So I don't think running 3 of them is going to be worth it. So yeah, it's kind of the strengths and the weaknesses of what I saw. Obviously, my list had a lot more weaknesses than it did strengths. Obviously, the strengths were the Shining Spears, and it was the psychic stuff, but everything just wasn't meshing together. So overall, some changes to come, and we'll see what I'm going to do for this upcoming week. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts and feelings. Yeah, again, just doing these simple videos to start to get some content out there. Thanks for watching, everybody.